morning. Isn't this a beautiful morning? We are in Liepaja, and we start our day with this wonderful visit to a local market. What I love the most is their dried fish, their dried cold. It just tastes like what I remembered from my childhood.
The territory which we know today as the Kurland region has been populated since the ancient time. According to the earliest historical records, two tribes, the Liepajas and Coronians, lived and thrived along the coastline for many centuries before the Slavic tribes migrated to this region. In the late 17th century, this town was one of the most important commercial ports along the Baltic coast. As an important market town, businessmen traveled with their huge caravans from as far as Black Sea coast and Russian heartland to here, exchanging communities and ideas with each other. When this town belonged to the Russian Empire, the Jewish received the right to live in this town shortly after they formed their religious congregation and education system.
The Jewish population once made up almost 10% of the entire population here in Liepaja. This beautiful house was once their prayer house, and today there's a small Jewish museum which gives us a poignant narrative of their life and also their fatal death. In Liepaja, there are both the blue history and the black history of this remarkable ethnic group, the Jewish people. They have always been the most industrious and resilient people I know in the world. And their poignant history really witnessed how tenacious they are. They never give up. They never give up. Whatever happened to them, they just pull up and start over to create a new, splendid history.
Who were the Jews? Did they ever deserve the reputation as the most rapacious, blood-sucking evils, who accumulated their wealth by plundering their Gentile neighbours? Let us go back 100 years in history. The Jewish people had limited choices upon the labour market in Latvia. The general resentment toward them was not always well disguised. In Latvia, most Jews lived in the Jewish enclave separated from the locals. Although they only made up 12% of Liepaja's total population, 25% of the factories were operated by the well-educated Jews. In the city center, 140 shops and warehouses were possessed by the Jewish merchants. The employment rate amongst the Jews was extremely low, despite the fact they could only take jobs in a Jewish company. What did they do with their prosperity? They built a beautiful synagogue to encourage Talmud learning and culture exchange.
Here was the famous Jewish Ghetto, which they transported Jewish people from the entire town to here during the Second World War. And the living condition was not very impressive. Today, this small quarter is still quite a rustic place. We don't see blood anywhere. Nevertheless, well, really close your eyes and just listen to the wind. You could still find the scent of the dirt and the filthy smell from the horrible sanitary system. And most of all, there's still a sense of despair.
German soldiers appeared in Liepaja already summer 1941. The heavy bombardment kept most residents away from their homes. Most of the city's most elegant Art Nouveau buildings and traditional wooden houses were severely damaged overnight. Later, the bombardment was concentrated upon the Jewish quarters. The Jews were incarcerated in the ghetto and guarded by well-equipped German soldiers. Between 1941 and 1943, most young and healthy adults, men and women, were transported away to various labor camps with cattle trains against their consent. Women and infants were left behind by themselves. Young people could no longer go to school. Their daily ration was by all means meager. In order to survive, some women sold their most precious possessions, ranging from wedding rings, fancy dresses, to medieval religious scrolls upon the black market. Others grew carrots, potatoes, and beets on the backyard. A survivor recorded that her family shared a small room with another family in a tiny little apartment. The sanitary system was very poor.
65 years ago, there's a huge Quran synagogue. And today, this is just a green area. It's pleasant. The only thing that reminds us about the Jewish community is probably this tree. I would like to see is the tree of life.
Life. The value of life so different in the eyes of the popular ethnic groups. Such idea drove people who stopped to think self-reliantly to commit the most atrocious crimes towards people whom they do not know. Not many Jews in Liepaja managed to escape from the Germans' final solution. Very few locals dared to stand up for their former Jewish friends, employers, and business collaborators openly. I would like to know if any of them could foresee the final liquidation approach them with each day it went.
This is Tiesu Iela number 5, Tiesu Street number 5. This was once the most haunted place for the Jewish family. They were gathered here before their executions in the 40s. Look at this today. It was used as a female prison for a long time. Nevertheless, the Jewish people who were incarcerated here never committed any crime. Their only crime is the fact that they belong to a specific ethnic group.
The correction facilities should be used to rehabilitate a twisted soul from committing new crimes against their fellow citizens. It is not a tool which the government could use to incarcerate a group of people who worship a different divinity. The brick wall could prevent the Jews from surviving the 40s. However, this structure can no longer stop their posterity from asking important questions in terms of righteousness and fairness. Furthermore, their fate continued to encourage a new generation of Europeans to ask why the nationalistic ideas still venerated by the far-right politicians today.
Upon this spot, between 1941 and 1943, over 2,000 Jewish people were executed.
The idea of death has occupied many people's minds through the history of ideas. I often believe that the human could survive so many obstacles historically simply because we have a legendary ability to collaborate when fighting against any difficult predicament. Sites like this prove that we are our worst enemy. The real incentives beneath many evil doings could be as trivial as the needs to follow the general consensus in order to be included in the popular crowd.
Right. According to this museum, 6,321 of them were killed by them, and their names are printed here in the paper. Bustein, Chait, Dogovich, Chanin, Davidson, so on and so forth, and their blood just running through the field vanish into reveal our history.
Do you care to know how many Jews survived the Holocaust in Liepaja, given the fact that the total Jewish population was around 7,000 people in 1935? 26 people only. Mr. Hitler achieved what he wanted. Majority of the perished Jewish souls never reunited with their ancestors in this Jewish cemetery after the Second World War. When walking around, I would like to know whether they would like to return to a town which killed them without any rational, legitimate reasons. If they could look down upon the soil which they called home from above, I would like to know how they would conclude their experiences. What is really important in life? What do we want to achieve others than the worldly wealth, popularity, fame and power? For me, it is my intellectual freedom, a liberty to articulate what I believe and what I dislike openly. After all, it is my verdict about my actions that matters to me at the end of the day. When I close my eyes, while standing in the cemetery, I could almost sense the scent of the dried blood. The burning sensation forced my eyes to cry. Liepaja is a very interesting coastal town to visit, especially if you're interested in history and architecture. Most Jewish history-related sites are located in the vicinity of the city center.